Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Dungeon Boss Tactical Series. Today we are taking a look at a major update, and that is going to be the update to the Undead team. Now, it's been a while since we've seen a large-scale change like this. This is not just a couple of enhancements and buffs on a couple of heroes. This is a large-scale, basically team upgrade. I shouldn't say upgrade. It's a team change. We haven't seen this much of a change in a team probably since the Beast team got some much needed love when they started all getting pack tactics and various synergies between them. That being said, the Undead had some great synergies to begin with, but they had largely become irrelevant in almost all aspects of the game. We couldn't use them in PvP because of Kira. We couldn't really, I guess we could use them in PvE, but we didn't need to anymore. Their runs were very durable, they were reliable, but they were slow. So I still used them every now and then to get through some of the harder dungeons if I found something to be difficult, but after we started getting upgrades to Solaris and started getting more and more superior runes, particularly from events, the Beast team can auto-run pretty much anything, and the Undead is, basically put on the back burner. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Undead team here. We're going to take a look at all of the heroes. I know this is going to be a long video, so for your convenience, I've put the start times for each subsequent hero in the description. So if you want to jump to a specific one, you can just jump right in there and have a quick access to it. So this event, or this change, coincides not uncoincidentally with the Halloween event, which Zomm is the superstar behind. So with that said, what we'll do is we'll actually start with Zomm then, since he is sort of the leader of all these guys. He is the one that is kind of the Undead master, if you will. So we're going to start with him because he is the face of the Undead team. If I could find him. So here he is. So like I said, this is not just simple upgrades and change to a couple little things. This is large-scale reworking of heroes. So the first thing, without even going into his stats or abilities, notice that he has been switched to a caster. At first glance, I was like, whoa, how is Zomm a caster at all? And really all that's going to mean for us, for the most part, as far as caster goes, he is going to get the mystical trait, which is also going to be good compared with being slow, which is right there. So he gets boosted attack for being slow, and he gets mystical as well. So quite a bit of extra damage there for him, provided that he actually gets turns. Now overall, if we look at his stat loadout here, his base attack is 2300, which is amazing, and his base defense is 1860, which has gone down. His skill is 1797, which has also gone down. His health, his base of 5900, has gone way down, but he gets buffs from otherwhere. So basically, the changes that we've seen with Zomm as far as a skill or a stat loadout, he's gotten better attack and better crit at the cost of defense, health, and skill. So that's kind of the way he was. A lot of people use the defensive Zomm, typically on the Undead team. A lot of people use Brom for the killing and Zomm just to stay alive and maintain heals and such. So looking at some of his other traits here, the Soulless Scourge is a trait that every single one of the Undead get now. I don't care so much about the immunities, because he would probably be on a Shade team anyways, to be honest. But this life steal for 25% of all damage dealt is, that's going to be no joke. So basically, if you beef up his attack now that he's a caster, he's going to be constantly healing himself. So as far as a PvE standpoint goes, we're not going to see any real deficiencies in the success of Zomm. He's still going to be very good in PvE. PvP is going to be a different story. We're kind of not really at that point yet where we're going to talk about PvP, but this is a great trait and they all have it. Next up, Lord of the Undead. Increase health by 25% for all undead, and undead allies have a chance to disease. This here has not changed. He basically had this already. Almost certain he had this. From the Grave 3, you'll notice his first ability used to be called From the Grave, where he would stick his little claw into the ground and reduce energy. He does not do that anymore. His ability loadout has completely changed, so now he has a passive that, to be honest, this is the the one that I'm looking forward to the most, just to see what it actually does. Summons up to 3 Zomm minions at the start of each of his turns for dead allies. Now, that being said, this is not the cure for Hopper teams. Hopper is still going to remove corpses. So the Undead team, just with this proc here alone, is not going to stop Hopper teams. Could it stop possibly Beast teams without Hopper? Maybe. But you have to remember, these minions are not... they're not going to be able to revive your other heroes, if I understand them correctly. So while they might keep coming back, they're certainly going to be a shell of what they once were. And then he's just got his blessing here. But overall, the big thing that we saw with Zomm is he had a lot of his traits removed, basically. So he all the stuff that he used to have is kind of gone. He doesn't have the feeding on the living passive, that undead heart, the lethargy. He doesn't have any of those traits that he used to have. Abilities. Taste for Brains has moved up a click into the number 1 spot. This ability here does 2305. It's no surprise here, that is actually his base attack. So the more you raise his base attack, it's a 1-for-1 correspondence here. This is going to do a pretty good attack here. Plus, it heals your undead allies, basically 50%. That's a huge, huge thing. But more importantly, it increases max health by 5%. Obviously, with the cooldown on here, it has cooldown of 5. So you're not going to be able to spam this. It's certainly not going to be something that's going to be used over and over and over in like a PvP raid or anything like that. Next up, Unleash the Legion is brand new to Zomm. This one here is allies gain 69% attack, and then all the undead allies attack a random enemy. Basically what this is it's Bestial Roar, but it is Undead Roar. We get basically a 70% attack boost. That's pretty good. Obviously, with where Zomm falls in the actual attack rotation, you're not going to use this for individual skills to start with. That's going to be for starting round 2. So basically, for a PvP defense, he'll use this, which will be really, really great, provided he makes it to round 2. I don't know that he necessarily will. In terms of starting, it's not going to start powered. So basically, if you were to use somebody like Echo or some other way to gain energy, we could ultimately possibly have this up in the first turn, but you're going to have to do a little bit of finagling to get it there. Last one is another one brand new to Zomm, Filet the Minions. It's basically like filet mignon, which is what Gordon Ramsay calls it, filet mignon. It's Filet the Minion. So he sacrifices all allied Zomminions, which probably means that he eats them. I haven't seen the mechanic for it. But basically, I got a little bit confused about the actual wording of this, because it says allies gain +1 energy and 25% max health. Then +1 energy and 24% max health for each Zomminion sacrificed. So what I'm guessing is, even if you have no Zomminions, you must get +1 energy and 25% max health. And then if you happen to have Zomminions out there, they get extra ones. There's probably going to be a balancing act here in terms of when this is going to be good. You obviously don't want all Zomminions, because that's only going to benefit Zomm. If you could have one other undead out there, that's probably going to be the best possible outcome, if you had to ask me. This is a pure passive. There's no attack here, so this is just a support role, which for a caster is kind of unique in my opinion. But this 25% max health, I don't know if it's raising health by 25% or if it's giving 25% back in heals. That we'll have to wait and see once we actually use him in a dungeon. I don't know based on the wording here. It says 25% max health. It doesn't say heals, so it says he gains. Well, gain +1 energy and 25% max health. So my guess is it's probably a heal +1 energy, if I had to guess. Increase in their max health by 25% seems a little bit ambitious, considering his first one is only 5%. Doing 5 times that on this other one is not likely. And honestly, we wouldn't be able to do that with that third piece, because you would be 24%, 24%, 24%, all for max health. That's basically going to double his health with this process. I highly doubt that would be the case. It'd be cool if it did, but it's probably not going to. Okay, next up, let's take a look at our epic heroes now. We got Hansuke, and we have Yorick as Undead with epics. Starting out, Hansuke is still an undead warrior. Nothing's really changed there. And his traits, the big one that I saw as far as him is he lost his honorable death trait, which personally I didn't really get it to trigger that many times anyways. You really had to have your vigilance up and hope that he got killed, but there's so many really powerful AoEs out there, particularly when you went against Kira teams. It just didn't work. I mean, he didn't have time to come back and really make use of it. So that honorable death is gone, and so we have now Undead Avenger. I'm looking to see how this one actually works, particularly if we run some Undead in PvP. So when an ally is killed, this hero gains attack, and it revenge attack the enemy who made the killing blow. So 2 attacks if the ally killed was an Undead. So basically, this is sort of like the beloved trait that Zen has. Zen, when he dies, everybody attacks. In this case here, when somebody else dies, Hansuke attacks. And so if one of his buddy undeads die, then he attacks twice. So we really need to beef up the attack on Hansuke in order for him to be, really benefiting from this. And I don't know that many people have that right now, because more so he is basically kind of tanky, but with the green loadout as far as runes, he should be able to be rune for attack pretty decent. As far as his overall stats go, base attack of 2020, base defense of 2100, both really great. His base skill of 1500 is pretty much standard. Base health of 7600, way better than Zomm is. And base crit chance is 5% like most, but he's got an epic and some decent skill to start with. All in all, Hansuke has gained bonuses in every one of those major stats. All 5 of those have gotten increases. So he's gotten more powerful in every aspect. So while he's not a tank anymore per se, he never really was a tank to begin with. He did get bumps to all of his stuff. So the can't miss, can't dodge, that stays the same. He's got his Soul of Scourge, 25% life steal. Again, if we bump up his attack, which he has a very good starting attack, that's going to be really helpful to keep him alive. Relentless Horde, allied undead attack when allied undead attack a random enemy when they get a killing blow. So this is similar to what we saw with Beast Mechanics with Lupina's epic. When she would kill somebody, we'd see fear and things like that. Same basic things here. When we kill somebody, they get another attack. So remember, it's when they get a killing blow. So he is undead, so he will get this as well. But this is really going to benefit undead teams if you're going to be auto-running them, because it's just an extra attack in there. The Kenjutsu 3, 25% chance to parry. This is just his max parry. Which is helpful. I mean, we like to be able to parry attacks. So 25% chance that he's going to parry attack and do no damage. Actually, no. Sorry, that's not what this is. 25% chance to parry and revenge after a single target attack. This might be actually different. I was thinking of his, I think, 50% chance to just negate damage altogether. Yeah, my guess is this is attacks against him. He has a chance to parry them. Abilities. Gone is Vigilance. So we start out with the Ayajutsu Strike, which basically is a hardcore attack, 2700 base, which is pretty great compared to his attack. That is 2700 here, so that is not quite 1.5 times base, but it's higher than your base attack, which is pretty rare in a first skill, but this is a single target attack. has the ability to purge taunt if it's up, which is helpful for all of those force taunting, and it wounds as well. So far all we've seen with the wound is usually a chance to wound. We've never really seen a guaranteed wound, which this one here is now going to do, provided they're not immune to it like Shade's opening turn. Blade Fury is the one that I'm most looking forward to as far as Hansuke. This is basically Indigo, but as an undead. 3 melee physical attacks, 1,000 damage each. That's basically 1/2 of his base attack, which is still pretty good. Also common for this type of attack. 20% chance of an extra attack. That's what I'm really looking for, is the 1 in 5 chance of an extra attack. My personal record with Indigo is I've gotten 7, probably 2 or 3 times. I've never personally seen an 8, but I've heard some people, obviously I've not seen it, but I've heard some people claim they've gotten 8 shots out of Indigo. I will be interested to see how well this does. Crits have a 50% chance to wound. That's also good as well. So the crit doesn't give energy back like Indigo, but that's not really going to be an issue. Using this one in PvP offense, we're going to have to wait a couple of turns, just like we saw with Zomm. If we're able to somehow gain some energy in that first turn, we might be able to get to this if he's the last person. Last one, Wrath of the Fallen. This is a support for the most part, but it also is a very, very powerful attack. 2,500 base damage. Compare that to 2,700. Not quite as much, but it's still a very good single target attack. So buff the team 86% is no joke. That's basically going to almost double your team's attack, which is very, very powerful. Again, that's all assuming that your team stays alive. And lastly, if the target is killed, all enemies are feared. And so, again, as far as a PvP attack goes, you're probably never going to get to this one. If you use him on defense, I don't know that the Undead are really going to be that strong on defense yet. But I don't think you're going to get too many round 3 kills anymore. But that's just my opinion. His epic hasn't changed. Max health, attack, and crit. Same as what he had. And buffs the team defense. Next up is going to be Yorick. Yorick is one of my disappointing ones. I really liked Yorick for a lot of reasons, because I was still able to use him in PvP because he had such strong defense, but as far as his traits go, he lost that the Undead guard, he lost his rogue defense, he lost all of his defenses. And what did he get in return? He got the lifesteal, which is great. He also got this cold as death, which he didn't have, so he can't be frozen, chilled, or frostbit. Give undead allies 75% chance to chill on basic attacks. Again, I don't know why this is relevant. Chill is largely, useless in almost all aspects of the game, except for very long PvP or PvE battles. I don't see chill as being really a viable mechanic. So honestly, more people should have this just because of how ineffective it is. Small chance to chill melee attackers with the chilling skin. And then so all of his other traits are basically gone. So he used to be really great for defense, and now he's just not. He is also a rogue, which, again, I don't know why he's a rogue. Rogues don't use swords. Rogues use daggers or knives. So he's clearly a warrior. I mean, he always has been a warrior. So I don't know what the scoop was or the intention behind switching to rogue. That's just, I don't know. We're not able to really fully understand without seeing the notes that the devs pass back and forth. So his overall skills then, or his stats. Base attack of 1903, which is great. Anything around 2,000 base attack is pretty good. But this has gone down. Because he's a rogue now, his base attack has been lowered. His base defense, 2,100, is a good base defense, but again, this has also gone down. He's had his max health raised. 6,700 doesn't seem like much, but it actually has gone up a little bit. And his skill of 1797 is a pretty high starting skill, which is also increased. So overall, I'm probably the most disappointed with Yorick, because like I said, I used to be able to still use him even though there was Kiras around. Obviously, I didn't use him with Kiras, but Yorick was the one that could usually survive Kira the most, and now he lost that survivability. Abilities. His first skill, or his first ability, is still marked for death. It has a little bit of new mechanic to it, though. It still gives the mark on it for the massive % increase, but it also reduces all the healing from your enemies as well. I don't know how much, but I'm guessing skill is going to play a major factor in that. I kind of wish it would give us a percentage that said reduce healing by X number of %. That would be much more helpful for us. But if we don't know how much it's going to reduce the healing, it's probably going to be an afterthought anyways. People are usually marked for death for the 200-some % damage. That's what they're doing. New skill here, Warding Strike. It's a melee attack, 2800. Compared to this here is basically 1.5 times his base attack, which is good for a single target attack. But in addition to this, it lowers their defense and it purges buffs. The purging buffs is probably the big one. However, notice the energy cost of 6. You're not going to be able to use this on PvP attacks. It's just not going to happen. Even with your most ambitious energy acquisition, you're likely not going to get enough energy on turn 1 to make this beneficial. So late stage, 3rd, 4th, 5th turn, yeah, maybe you could use that to remove some buffs. But if you're going against a good beast team, he's going to be dead long before then anyways. It lowers their defense just like it always had in the past, so that's good. And then a brand new skill for Yorick, Lifeless Breath. 3000 base damage. This is a single target attack, but it does do a little bit of splash damage. Again, it does not tell us how much splash damage actually is. I don't know if it's 10%, 50%, if it's just a flat rate. We'll be able to tell until we actually do some attacks. But it is a very strong single target attack. Applies Frostbite, which is better than Chill in my opinion. Frostbite is definitely much better because it's going to prevent them from using their abilities. At least as far as PvP defense goes. If you use it on PvP offense, that the defense you're going against is still going to use their abilities, which is going to be the most beneficial. I see this more of a PvE mechanic, as it's rarely going to see its use in PvP, in my opinion. Again, his epic has not changed, plus attack, plus health, plus crit. Next up, long lost forgotten hero. Once Hansuke came around, this guy was kicked to the curb, except for one boss mode dungeon where you couldn't use nature heroes. Then he made his way back in. So, Overlord execute him, or I always call him execute him. Execute him is what I call him. Other people said execute him, like you're executing them. I don't know, pronounce it however you like, but I always said execute him, like executive. He is a tank. He is still undead, obviously. As far as his stats go, base attack, only 1600. So as far as the undead goes, probably because he is a very easy hero to get, his base attack is much, much lower. His base defense, 2100, is actually good. Both his attack and his defense were lowered. For reasons I don't know. He wasn't that strong to begin with, taking away his 2 best stats of attack and defense in favor of raising his health. I guess as far as a tank goes, you want to have health. But why raising skill? 1300 base, his skill must have been really, really low. I'd have to go back to my either purple hero priority guide or the tank priority guide to see what his values actually were. But his skill is already low, so I don't know why it wasn't raised more, but the loss of attack and defense is a big deal for him. He gained this one here, this Light Hunter. He's the only one that actually has this. It doesn't give us the actual value for it. My guess is it's like any of the other hunters where it's a ×2, which is great. We love to have a ×2 against Light. Nobody else has this trait right now. Might make him useful for, I guess, your Kiras or your Black Diamonds or your Arias. Or maybe even your Echoes. I'm not really sure how we're going to play a part in this. He is still armored. He's got the Undead Guard. The Undead Guard, this here I believe was Yorick's, and now it is Overlord's. So this is what we needed. The increased defense is great. I mean, obviously increased defense is going to be a major PvP mechanic. I don't know if he personally is strong enough to survive anybody, but he can at least buff the other guy's defense. Other than that, he does not have any other traits to look at. Alright, so looking at his abilities have changed quite a bit as well. He used to have that Void Blade to start with. We don't see Void Blade anymore. He gets Vigilance to start with, which it basically means we're switching Hansuke with Overlord. And so we give him the Vigilance traits. We're giving him bits and pieces of everybody else to try and maybe make him more useful again for newer players that don't have Hansuke yet. I'm not really sure the purpose there. But Vigilance basically means you're going to protect the other people. And as far as a tank goes, that's what they're supposed to do anyways. So if we ruin him for heavy defense, this might be viable long term as far as PvE goes. PvP, that remains to be seen. Void Taunt, he did have a taunt to begin with, so taunts here are also good. These are some major debuffs here. So the debuffs are from his Void Blade that we had the first time around before the change. So we're going to lower the attack 64%, defense 64%, skill 64%, and crit 63%, so call that a rounding error. But it's only a 40% chance. So it's not a guaranteed debuff, but it's got a chance to debuff all of these things. And it starts powered. Next up, Void Strike. Melee physical attack on an enemy for 1154. Not really that great as far as his stats go. That is 1100 is 66% of this maybe, so not that great. Usually when you get these single target attacks, you want it to be at least equivalent to their base attack, which for a tank it would have been nice to have that extra little bit of attack, but we don't. The best thing about this here is the Void Strike is we're getting buff defense, 40% chance, and a chance to debuff the enemy attack. Again, same as we saw before, a chance to debuff the enemy. It's a 40% chance again. But we're going to get a little bit of a defensive buff, and it doesn't tell us how much of that is, but it's going to be something. So, where does that leave us then? We have one more guy here. I forgot about him. He's technically one of the epics that I overlooked, but he's also the one that has the fewest changes, so I just kind of skipped him. Brom is actually largely unchanged, so he hasn't had anything change as far as his overall stats. He still has a great attack, 2200, defense 1700, not bad, and skill nobody really cares about, and max health 5800, pretty decent there. His abilities, he's gotten the Soulless Scourge, just like everybody else did. This is going to be really great for him, especially on an auto run team, or just any any team that you're going to put him on. He's going to be constantly healing himself. He does need to stay alive in order to benefit from this, but everything else is the same though. So he heals when he does a killing blow, and he does this extra crit when they're really low health. Abilities, nothing's changed with his abilities. Everything is as it was. So those are the 5 undead. I believe there's 5 of them that had somewhat changes, with the exception of Brom. Didn't really have much change from him. But where this is going to fall in terms of viability, I think we're going to see them pretty much still the same way they were as far as PvE goes. I don't anticipate much changing with them. They're still going to be the same level of difficulty in getting them, except for right now, over these next probably 2 weeks or so, Zomm's going to be really easy to get. There's going to be a lot of Zomm tokens out there, so I recommend everybody go out and get those. But the rest of them, Hansuke, he's heroic. Brom is heroic for the most part. Yorick, you got to farm the tower. It's going to be the same level of difficulty to get these tokens. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't address this. There's 2 other things. One, at the time of recording, I don't have information on Zomm's epic, which will be coming out. Most of you will see that today. But I don't have the ability to show that yet. I will do a separate video on Zomm's epic, and we'll have that at a later date. The second one is a major elephant in the room. Kind of has people. Honestly, I don't know why we're getting the torches and pitchforks. If you've ever followed the forums, people have been screaming and screaming and screaming that Kira needs to be nerfed for months and months. And I know he hasn't been a mainstay in PvP over the last maybe month or a few weeks or so. Largely since Solaris came out, he hasn't really been much, and he was negated pretty well for a lot of PvP defense. People could get around him with the Cobalt trick and sort of negate him. But there's still a lot of people that complain that he was just too strong. The endless tenacity, dodging everything, and just overpowered with all of his runes. And personally, it didn't bother me at all. I was fine with the way Kira was. I don't care so much that he was nerfed or that he wouldn't have been nerfed. I was pretty much impartial either way. But we did see some changes to him, not really in terms of his abilities, but Death Blossom here has been switched to only a single shot now when he attacks. He still does AoE, but he doesn't do two daggers each. In addition to that, his tenacity trait is now a 25% chance to do another Death Blossom, which his tenacity is now an AoE, which I feel like people are going to whine and complain about that ultimately. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have his major Pwn Undead anymore. His Pwn Undead has been reduced down to 1.5. And if you read the forum, it does say that his Pwn Undead has been reduced. If you look at Yasmin, Yasmin still stays the same, I believe. And it has to do with Pwn Undead 1 versus Pwn Undead 2. So Kira and Ember both have Pwn Undead. They're going to get 1.5. And I believe Yasmin still gets times 3. If it's not times 3, it's definitely times 2. But it's more than what Kira has. So that being said, yes, we're losing damage from Kira. He's not going to be able to get 2 pot shots on everybody on that first AoE, and he's not going to get the times 3. So a lot of people are saying, okay, we lost 50% of the damage on that first attack, and we're losing 50% damage on the actual Pwn Undead as well. But to be fair, people aren't using Undead in PvP. So that loss for the Pwn Undead, I cry foul when people are whining about that, because nobody was using Undead in PvP. So get over it. It's not a big deal. None of the other heroes really had it at all. Yasmin and Ember both weren't doing anything with their Pwn Undead. So it's not like any other hero had this and they were truly milking it. So not a big deal. Now, is it disappointing that that first skill did have its thing knocked down to 1 dagger instead of 2? Yeah, that's kind of a big deal, but most people, I think, really they wanted him to lose part of his dodge and not have so much tenacity. But honestly, I think he's basically the same. I don't see my usage of him changing that much. He's still going to have very strong single attacks against any other hero besides Undead. But my guess is the move here, removing half of that Pwn Undead and half of that first skill, is more so that he can't wipe an entire Undead team in the first turn. That's ultimately what this is doing. But again, that all is based on the fact that people are going to put their Undead team in PvP. And to be honest, I just don't see that happening yet. We're going to take a look at some PvP in just a moment, just to see what we can do. We do want to see that cool little minions aspect. We have to find a non-hopper team in order to do that, but we'll definitely check that out. So I have to go back and I have to throw some runes on my Undead. Most of these guys are pretty weak. I'm going to see if I can find some better runes for most of them, and then see if we can find an easy raid to test things out. And then we'll have a look at their long-term viability. So hang tight 1 second and we'll be right back. Alright, so here I am with PvP now. I didn't do a ton with my runes. To be honest, I wasn't overly confident in what's going to happen anyways, and I did not want to take an hour to do a re-runing. I do have a lot of re-runing to do to switch my Shade, my Hopper, and switch them up around, but I just don't have time to do that right now, so that's going to be more of a weekend task. But I do have a raid here that I think we can test out on. We don't have any Shade, we don't have any Hopper, we don't have any Beasts. So if there's ever going to be a raid we want to test out some new mechanics, this is probably as good as we're going to get for myself. Now, Viperia, probably going to wipe some people with her base attack here. So I'm not going to go full-blown Undead. I think that would be foolish in any capacity. We're not seeing people go too many full beasts anymore, even after that allure has worn off. We don't see that too much anymore, so I wouldn't advocate doing all Undead either. So I'm going to mix this up so that I feel like I can win. So I had some Undead on this one here. That was what I tried earlier this afternoon, and it was a disaster. It did not work. That was against a Shade Hopper team, and the entire team got killed in the first round. It was pretty sad. So who I'm going to bring along? I definitely want to bring along Zomm. Zomm is the face of the zombie team. Got to have him. So I want him because of his minions, and then I also want to bring in Hansuke because of that cool retaliation stuff. I'd like to see how that goes. With the team I'm going against, unfortunately, I need to bring in some survivability. So I'm not bringing any other attackers, really. I'm going to bring in my duo of Leo and Solaris, just to keep the team alive. That's the goal here. So Zomm is going to be the superstar here. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen with Solaris and Leo, because if the guys transform themselves into little Zomminions, this might be a moot point to begin with. So Leo might be sort of rendered useless here, but we'll see. So this is my first time running really in a serious capacity. Like I said, I did try one raid earlier today and just got totally spanked, so that one didn't really count. But I have put some better runes on Zomm, and I've left my runes on Hansuke. He just has basic ones. Let's get our speed up a little bit here. Surprised that didn't take down Solaris. A blue archer would be pretty devastating. Okay, so that's what I expect. So the retaliation worked pretty good. We killed Viperia, but Zama's down. So now we just have to survive. This should purge the taunt, which is good, but unfortunately Cobressa's got her thing up anyways. Okay, there's Zomm. I think what I will do is I'll heal on this first one. Even though I have the Fury up, I could get those other guys back. I want at least, I want to see what those minions do. And so we're going to chance it and hope that we don't get stomped by some... Okay, so it did what I expected it to do. It would, it removed the corpses, which I don't know how good these guys are, to be honest. They really... Without being able to see what their actual attack values are, I highly doubt that they're going to be anything. We can increase their... We saw that this increases their max health. I don't know if that's an issue. Let's just remove somebody here. We can't do damage to Cobressa anyways. But yeah, I think this mechanic here is certainly not going to be useful for a Solaris team or a Leo team, because you are getting rid of their bodies. Skull Slasher is just a melee physical attack. Oh, and then we look at that, we get a little taunter. So I don't know if this this may be based on what sort of heroes actually died. Leo was a tank, so maybe he gets a taunt here, whereas the other guy got, you know, warrior stuff. Let's go ahead and taunt. And then I'm going to do this just to heal. Actually, no, that didn't heal. Sorry. I wasn't paying attention. What's interesting about this here is that it has a cooldown. How can this have a cooldown? I guess, I don't know. Zomm's not going to turn into a minion himself, so... Said I don't know if these guys are that powerful, but didn't kill him. It's kind of a neat mechanic, but I think, to be honest, it's going to be, I don't know, kind of risky, because it's kind of like Pontifex. If you use him in the tower and he comes back as undead, he never really truly fixes himself after that. So I don't know that I like that mechanic. I probably wouldn't need it with Solaris. Let's do a Kira team. That's actually a good benchmark here. So we're going to leave off... I think, to be honest, I think Kira still kills Zomm. So let's do... Shade. Want to at least get some kills in here. And then we will do... Who's going to do... We'll do Shadowblade. We'll do single target ones. Now, I think personally there's still more to come with the Undead. You can see right now that I just don't think that the Undead are going to be that much more viable in PvP than they have been. Like I said, you'll probably still see Kira kill him, or very close to. I guess maybe not. So I guess he survives Kira, which is good. But I don't think that makes them any more useful. Just killing the two crazy ones to start with. But personally, I think there's still somebody else coming for Undead buffs. I couldn't find it. There was a screenshot that I saw from a couple months back, right before Solaris came out, when everyone was speculating what the new hero was going to be. A lot of us thought there was going to be this person called the Witch Doctor. There was a screenshot floating around of a dungeon after screen where it shows all 4 heroes that were in there, and there was a unique hero that nobody had seen before, and he didn't make his debut. We ended up getting Solaris, and then we kind of thought it would be the next one, and then we got Meryl. So I'm not sure where this other guy is, but he was a dark hero that we assumed was going to buff Undead. It's possible he may still debut with this Halloween event. Being that we just had Meryl, though, I just don't see that coming. We're going to be getting a Zomm epic. I highly doubt we would get a new hero to boot as well. That just seems highly unlikely. But if that's the case, then we may very well see the Undead be much better. But right now, I don't see it. I think they're going. If we ruin them really, really heavily towards maybe defense, I think they could survive. But those Shade Hopper teams are going to tear them apart. I mean, the minions do nothing to a Hopper team, but Shade, Hopper, and Beasts, I think they're still going to dominate PvP. Undead is not going to do anything to slow that up. So for low-level players, this might help them out a little bit if they don't have a maxed-out Shade or a Solaris or a Hopper. But for those of us towards the end game, I don't think it's going to be a major game break. With that said, I don't really have much else to show with the Undead team. I'm not going to do a bunch of raids just to try and prove that they're viable, just because I'm not on board with that concept anyways. I don't personally believe that they're going to be that much more viable. Yes, they're not going to get poached by Kira in the first round, but they're going to get killed by Shade, and they're going to get killed by Hopper as well. And if they don't get killed by Hopper, Hopper's still going to stomp the corpses out, and those minions cannot hang with a legit PvP defense long term. It's just not going to happen. So stick around. We're going to be doing the Zomm epic as soon as I get a chance to, and then after that I also have a couple other things in the works. We should be getting hopefully back to a little bit more regular. I'm going to try and do a little bit more than once per week. I have some schedule changes coming up, so I should be able to start recording a little bit more, hopefully posting a little bit more as well. Stay tuned, and as always, thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.